Hello, Canucks fans. Welcome back to another episode of Canucks Conversation, which is brought to you, well, right off the top, by Bet365, a proud partner of Canucks Conversation. Open an account with Bet365 today and bet on a huge range of markets. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Be sure to use code NATION when you sign up for an account. My name is Dave Quadrelli. Joining me now, live on the program, is Baggedmilk of Oilers Nation.com, the managing editor over at OilersNation.com. He joins me as a special co-host with Harman Dial away today. Bagged, how you doing?
Listen, Harman needed a break, so you had to bring in a ringer. So here I am. I'm ready to talk Canucks. I'm ready to fix all of your guys' issues, and I am going to do the best I can.
Outsider's perspective, this season for the Canucks, how do you look at it?
I am puzzled by the Canucks in the sense that, like, obviously in our market, we're hearing a lot about the noise, like the Patterson Miller noise, but even outside of that, I'm surprised by their struggles and more so surprised by their inconsistency. That's a good hockey team and one that can win and they can score and they've got great goaltending. So they're surprising to me and confusing. I didn't expect the Canucks to be behind the Calgary Flames past the midway point of the season. I guess that's a different way to put it.
There was a really good thread today by Mike Kelly, who obviously has all of that data, that sport logic data, all that exclusive stuff that only he has because with the NHL, right? Mike tweeted out this thread today, and I found it really interesting. I'm going to quickly summarize it. Basically, what he talked about was the Canucks have lost 5 of 6, and they're on pace to finish with 14 fewer wins than last season. Tonight, they face the LA Kings, the stingiest rush team in the league, which is what Vancouver used to be. Mike dives into the numbers of last year when the Canucks, and again, if you've been listening to the show for more than a year, you know this, the Canucks were creating the fewest chances off the rush, but had the 6th most goals off the rush. We talk about the PDO bender, we talk about all these different things that they've done last season. Another thing that happened last year was defensively, they were the best team at defending the rush. They allowed the fewest rush chances against and the 2nd fewest goals against off the rush. It was an .855 save percentage on rush shots, which was 3rd best in the league. And then offensively, as we said, 6th best. That's going to be a recipe for success. This year, the Canucks defensively are down to 28th in the league while still creating the fewest rush chances, but instead of being 6th in converting, they're down to 28th, and it also is worth mentioning that when it comes to stopping rush chances, a lot of those were Artur Shilov's early on in the year, which we know that Artur Shilov's isn't in the NHL anymore. But that being said, the rush offense, for as much as we talk about this team and their struggles, like Mike makes a really good case that it kind of all comes back down to this, which again, that encompasses a lot of things. That has a lot to do with defensemen moving the puck and all those sorts of things, but like it was really interesting to hear that kind of perspective that it was rush chances is what kind of separated last year from this year.
But like you're watching the team on a day-to-day basis, so fine, it's defending the rush, but like tactically, what is it? Like why can't the Canucks defend the rush as well? I'm looking at the roster. A lot of these names are the same people. Sure, there's been some changes, but every team has changes. Same kind of core, same coaching staff. So like what is that, Quads? Like why?
Yeah, so they've added forwards, right? Like they added forwards, and I think the team looked at, again, like you watched that series against the Oilers. The Canucks played that lock it down system, which is of course what they're going to do, but they played it almost out of necessity, and it was great for the regular season, but it wasn't really conducive to finding success in the playoffs, especially when you're going up against the Oilers, who are a fantastic rush team. They looked at that and said, okay, well, to fix that, we're going to add forwards to this team, and while doing so, I think the argument would be made that they neglected the blue line. Like, you look at what they brought in, they bring in Vinny Desharnais. He's really settled in a 3rd pairing role, but the big problem was that when Filip Hronek went down, Tyler Myers moved up to the 1st pair, and it wasn't Vinny who moved up to the 2nd pair. It was Noah Juleson, who's this team's 7th defenseman. He was the one that moved up to the top 4 because they just couldn't trust Vinny to play in that top 4 role. So, again, this isn't on Vinny Desharnais, but when it came to roster construction, they definitely neglected the blue line. And again, you've got injuries and those sorts of things, but they were struggling to do this with Hughes and Hronek both healthy still. It's been all season long. So I think, when it comes to creating off the rush, yeah, it matters that your defenseman can get the puck up to your forwards quickly. And we've talked about this a lot this season. A lot of what you see with the Canucks is forwards having to come back, forwards having to, grind out shifts. And by the time they get the puck to the red line, They got to chip it in and go for a change. You can't really compound shifts. You can't build momentum. You can't get any sort of forecheck going. And that was a big part of the Canucks' identity last year, something we talked about on yesterday's show as well. But ultimately, like, yeah, I think the blue line is the biggest thing. I've said it many times, but I think the biggest thing that's different about this team than last year's team is that the blue line is just so much worse.
That's interesting because I mean, like, I don't know. I feel like they're underperforming even with new bodies. Like as an outsider looking at the Canucks, every time I see a loss, like them getting tagged with a big loss, it's surprising to me. They from an outsider's perspective, from like a rivalry perspective, I just expect more out of them than what they're giving you guys.
Yep, and we'll see. Harmon and I have been talking about this idea that these next 2 weeks, for better or for worse, we wrote this over at Canucks Army today as well. For better or for worse, these next 2 weeks are going to be what tells you who the real Canucks are. Like, they're finally healthy, right? They're finally healthy. You're hoping Thatcher Demko finishes up his little adjustment period here and he starts to give you some really good goaltending again, but it's been an up and down year. It's been an up and down year with far more downs. Canucks have lost 10 of their last 13 heading into tonight's game. Let's talk about tonight's game. Baggedmilk, you know the LA Kings. You watch the Oilers a lot in the Pacific Division. You've seen the LA Kings. When I say LA Kings, more specifically this year's LA Kings, what's the first thing that comes to mind when you talk about the LA Kings?
So the Oilers just played the Kings on Monday, and it was a 1-0 finish for Edmonton. But when it comes to the Kings, they're the same Kings, just repackaged differently. They're a defensive team, and they still play the trap. It's a different look on the trap than maybe they got last year, but I think that it's the same team, just packaged differently. They're hard on pucks. They don't give you a lot of space. They really clog up the neutral zone. So the Oilers, they had to kind of be a little bit more patient with the puck than they're used to. So you mentioned it off the jump. They're a really good rush team, that the Oilers, that is. So that didn't really work well against the Kings because they were stacking 4 guys across the blue line. So they kind of had to change the approach a little bit. So I think, like, from a Canucks perspective, going up against the Kings, they got to be patient with the puck. They can't try and force plays through that aren't there unless they've got a clear lane to make a pass, because the Kings just do a really good job of clogging up the neutral zone, clogging up the middle of the ice, and then turning the puck around the other way. They did that very well on Monday, and that's just kind of what we always expect from them. But to me, the Kings are still boring. They are still a boring trap team that relies on defensive play more so than offensive production. And I think that if the Canucks are patient tonight with the puck, if they can handle it, if their puck management is solid, they're playing north-south more as opposed to east-west, they're going to be fine. But they got to get behind the defenseman a little bit. Obviously, Drew Doughty not being in the lineup for the Kings all season has been a big miss for them, a big hole, I should say. So just try and take advantage of it. They've got guys playing up in the lineup a little bit higher than they should be as a result. So just try and take advantage. That's the best possible thing I could say from a Canucks perspective. But the Kings are still the Kings. They're still the same team, even though they like to pretend they're not.
First time these two teams have faced since Tanner Jeannot threw that headshot on Brock Besser. Of course, Jeannot was suspended for 5 games after that hit. Besser was on a goal-scoring tear before that, struggled to find his footing since coming back, and we'll see. We'll see tonight. There's different opinions on this. Where do you stand on this when it comes to Retribution over 2 months later?
Listen, I'm a caveman. Part of me is still a knuckle-dragging hockey fan that grew up watching the rough era in the 90s. So if the Canucks feel like it's necessary, then go do it. You know, Brock Besser is one of their best players. He's a sniper. He's a fantastic goal scorer. And having him knocked out of the lineup with a hit like that is, you can't let it go. So I'm just sitting of a guy like Vinny Desharnais. He was an Oiler. Everybody knows he was an Oiler. That's your job, man. Like, you're a third pairing defender. Go out and handle some business. And I'm guessing Vinny will be the first one to step up. What'll be more interesting will be if Tanner Jeannot wants to engage in that, kind of like he feels he owes the Canucks that scrap. That's what I'm kind of curious about. Mm-hmm. But if I'm the Canucks, I'm all for it. I hate when our skilled players get pushed around. You got to defend those guys. You got to own your section of the ice. And I'd bet all of Quads' money that Vinny will try and handle that tonight.
I agree with you. Desharnais getting back into the lineup. Been a few games for Vinny as a healthy scratch, but he is in the lineup tonight. Noah Juulsen's out. He's a game-time decision, but he didn't take morning skate today, so it doesn't seem like Juulsen is going to be in the lineup. on Vinny and on this idea of retribution, I am kind of with you there. What I don't want to see, and I think this is my overall take on it, is if there are two willing combatants, which Tanner Jeannot is, like we know Tanner Jeannot fights, I would be surprised if he skated away from that, from a challenge from Vinny. What I don't ever want to see is a guy skate away and then it starts to get stupid. Like then it's cheap shots at other star players. It's like, just let Vinny and let Jeannot handle it. They fight early in the game and then it's over. And then nobody talks about it. Nobody worries about it. It's a clean game after that. It's not everybody running around doing stupid stuff. You don't want to see that. So I agree with you. My take on it is, yeah, Vinny's in the lineup. That is your job. I like that. That is your job. For Vinny. I want to talk about the Oilers really quick with you as well. Sure. We're going to talk more Canucks throughout the show because I'm being told now that you can stay longer in the show, which is going to be a lot of fun. So you'll
I had a meeting canceled, Quads.
Beautiful.
So the business hat comes off.
The business hat comes off. The bag of milk comes on.
Stays on.
That stays on. Okay. Before that, though, because I want to talk to you about the Oilers, I want to talk to you more about the Canucks. We've got a lot of things to get to. Before that, though, I want to tell people about our Super Chat. Our Super Chat charity partner this season is the BC Mental Health Foundation. If you want to make sure your question or comment gets on the show, hit us with a Super Chat. Proceeds from our Super Chat will go to the BC Mental Health Foundation, changing the face of mental health and addiction by supporting breakthroughs in care, public understanding, research, and knowledge exchange. Okay. The Oilers this season. I saw the TNT broadcast last night when the Oilers, when the Oilers took down the Minnesota Wild. I watched the broadcast last night, the TNT broadcast, and I saw Connor McDavid talking about the team's identity, talking about them focusing more on the defensive side of the game. He was getting some love from the great one. Always like seeing those two communicate with each other on the broadcast. I think that's always fun that they get to do that. But anyways, this Oilers team, what's the biggest difference? Is it the defensive play? Like, is that the big thing that you're looking at as the difference between last year's team that obviously came up short in the Stanley Cup final to this year's team?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's not just the defensive game, Quads. It's that the best players are committing to defense. So I think like you got a guy like Leon Draisaitl. Right now, Draisaitl is, he's scoring points and he's scoring goals and he leads the league in goals. And that's what everybody wants to talk about. But what I like to talk about with Leon's game is he's committing to both ends of the rink. He does it a lot more in the playoffs. You go, oh, wow, Leon's committing to defense in the playoffs. He's playing a two-way game. Like, why can't we get this in the regular season? And I don't know if it was like a conscious thing that the team talked about or how this came about, but you've got star players that are on their horse to get back into the zone more so than ever. And, obviously having back pressure from the best players in the league is going to be super helpful for the defensive group. So when I think about what the Oilers have improved upon, it's back pressure, it's committing to defense, and it's not just doing it when the playoffs roll around. I think that, those guys are getting their points for sure, and they always will. But I also think that they're sacrificing offense a little bit to take care of their own zone. And that is a marked change over what we've seen in years past, and it's noticeable, and you're seeing it in the results. It's no surprise that once the Oilers started committing to defense a little bit more, that their record improved. They were loose and sloppy in October, and they were a disaster, and everybody was talking about how they just can't have a good start to the season, but they weren't taking care of their own end in the first 6 weeks of the year. Once they committed to doing that, the results turned around quite drastically.
Okay, so just past the halfway point, on Monday's show, Patrick Johnson and I had a pretty heated, I'd call it heated, debate about the Hart Trophy. My number one, if I submitted a ballot right now, Leon Draisaitl deserves to win the Hart Trophy, in my opinion. Patrick was talking about Connor McDavid. He had both guys, both McDavid and Draisaitl, but he had McDavid first, and or ahead of Draisaitl, I should say. And my personal rule when I vote on the Hart is I will never vote for teammates. Like, you won't see me put McKinnon and Makar on the Hart. You can't be the most valuable player to your team and have two of you. That's just not how I view the award. So I ask you as an Oilers fan, Draisaitl or McDavid, who's been more valuable to the Oilers this year?
Right now, today, January 16th, it's Leon Draisaitl. He is playing very, very well at both ends of the rink. He's playing in kind of all situations. He's not on the PK, but like in terms of 5-on-5 even strength situations, he's playing everywhere. He's taking big draws. He's scoring big points. He's getting goals. And the other thing is he's doing it for the most part without Connor beside him. His line mates most often this year have been Vasily Podkolzin, who Canucks fans know well. And it was either Kasperi Kapanen or Victor Arvidsson. And Kasperi Kapanen was a waiver pickup that all of a sudden, playing with Leon Draisaitl, turned him into an everyday player with the Oilers, where now other guys like Jeff Skinner's getting bumped out, Derek Ryan's getting bumped out, Kapanen's sticking in the lineup. So Leon is doing more with less right now. So if I was picking a vote for the Hart Trophy, it would be him over Connor.
How is Vasily Podkolzin? How's he doing?
I love him, man. I love Vasily Podkolzin. And I don't know what I'm reading the chat here, so I'd be curious to know what the chat thinks, but I love the guy's work rate. He doesn't score as much as we probably like, considering he plays on the second line with Leon Draisaitl more often than not. But man, you will never see him not busting his ass to make plays, to go dig out pucks, to put himself in good positions. He's getting some time on the penalty kill. And this is the kind of player that this city absolutely loves. And that's why I was so pumped to see him score a complete lucky fluke bounce goal last night, because when you work as hard as he does on a shift-by-shift basis, it's nice when the hockey gourds reward you with a lucky one. And I think that Vasily Podkolzin is doing everything the organization's asked from him. By all accounts, it sounds like Leon Draisaitl loves playing with him because of his puck retrieval ability. So in terms of trading a fourth-round pick for a quality NHL player who is now playing in the top six, like that couldn't have gone better from an Oilers perspective.
Okay, we're going to get to anyone else, Baggedmilk, because people have questions for you. People have questions for me, so we're going to get to that. But before I do that, I quickly want to mention some line changes. We saw this courtesy of our pal Jeff Patterson this morning at Canucks Skate. Jonathan Lekermacki, who was sent down to Abbotsford yesterday. He didn't play in the game last night for Abbotsford. He's back. He's on the top six. He's playing with Liz Patterson. He's playing with Jake DeBrusk. Phil DiGiuseppe slots in alongside JT Miller and Brock Besser. Those are the big lineup changes. Höglander, Bluger, Sherwood is your fourth line. Heinen, Suter, Garland, third line. Excuse me. And as I said earlier, Desharnais slots in. He's going to play on the third pairing with Carson Soucy. Interesting that Derek Forbert is skating with Tyler Myers on the second pairing instead of Soucy Myers. So there's a little change there that I wanted to get. And of course, Thatcher Demko is going to start. He's going to get the net for the first time since a 2-0 loss in Carolina last Friday. Okay. I wanted to play this clip for you, and let's get to anyone else. Got to do this real quick. Yeah, anyone else, which is brought to you by our friends over at Greta. Come on down to Greta Bar YVR for a thrilling evening presented by Fountain Tire as we watch Vancouver take on Edmonton. There's going to be exciting giveaways, including hockey tickets, signed memorabilia, and jerseys to be won. Doors open at 5 p.m. and puck drop is at 6 p.m. Each ticket grants you access to all the action, and it's all in support of One Broken Biker. It's going to be a great time. Don't miss out. I don't want to hear anybody tell me after the fact that, I didn't buy my ticket in time, I didn't know about it. January 23rd. Do not miss it. Go buy your ticket. nationgear.ca. Action-packed night. Come hang out with Harmon and I, the whole crew. Baggedmilk might make the trip. We're not sure yet. We'll see. We'll see if he comes.
I might be there right now.
Might be there right now. You never know because you've got that stock. That's not even a stock image. That's a beautiful image. The bird on the shoulder.
You know, I love my birds.
I love my
birds. Always looking for
them. Okay, so some stuff about Podkolzin. We'll get to that. I wanted to play this clip more for the listeners. Obviously, Baggedmilk, you and I can react to this. But Jacob, this clip of JT Miller. He's asked by TSN's Farhan Lalji about his ice time going down. Miller also saying that he's good. He's not playing through an injury. That's also something that Talkit said. But Farhan asked Miller about the ice time going down, and this was JT's response.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably could play a little better. I don't know. What do you want to say?
You've been over your time here. There's been a lot of success on the ice. You've been praised at times. You've been criticized, but you've always kind of been the emotional heartbeat of this team. That emotional side we've seen less of just from the outside. Do you see it that way? Like, do you feel that part might be a little bit missing, or how do you see where you're at?
I don't know. It's probably for you guys to interpret, right? I'm not really conscious of it.
Now, this is interesting for a few reasons. I know people will just say, "Oh, whatever, dumb question." I know that that's going to be the thing that most people say. But we've seen JT answer tough questions like that before and answer them truthfully and really reflect on his game and say, like, the best example I can think of is when he misses a defensive assignment, nobody's harder on him. Like, you could ask even allude to it and not even ask point blank, even allude to a defensive assignment that he missed, and he's the first one to talk about it. Usually. That's at least what I've had in my experience talking to JT and covering him. So that answer to me, like I saw Ryan Henderson over on Twitter saying it's Jimmy Butler levels of checked out. I don't know if I'm ready to go there yet, but to me, like, that's a concerning answer to hear from JT Miller.
To me, my first reaction is, again, as an outsider, I just see a guy who's tired of the media right now. I see a guy who, you know, every time he's asked a question, or at least every time I see JT Miller asked a question, it's not for good stuff. And that's the media doing their job. You're asking him about why he's struggling or whatever it is. But to me, that just shows a guy who goes, oh, you're going to ask me about Patterson again? Now my minutes are down. Like, he looks like he can't get a break, and whether or not that's fair, I don't know. I'm reacting to it as an Oilers fan, seeing that for the first time. But JT Miller's a fantastic hockey player, and when he's at his best, he is one of the best. So interesting, but he looks like he's down on himself right now, and you can kind of see it all over his face. Short answer. Short, blunt answer.
Yeah, a really short answer. Let's bring in Jeff. Jeff Patterson's going to join us for Family Feud, but Baggedmilk, you stay too. We'll have a little. We haven't done 3 hosts on Canucks Convo in a while there. There he is, Jeff Patterson covering his face, but he doesn't have a bag of milk to do it. No. JPat joins us now. Jeff, what's your reaction to that? You heard the Miller clip. Just your reaction to what Miller said there.
Yeah, it wasn't a great day for vibes in and around the room. They trotted out Phil Hronek, who doesn't generally give off the best vibes when he has to deal with the media, and JT as well. And look, he had 4 points in Montreal a week ago. Those are the last points that he had as a Canuck. So 4 games without for a guy that's expected to be a leader. Team had 1 win on the road trip. We know that there are issues, and you could just tell. Like, his number was on the board. He had been requested to meet the media, and even when things aren't going well for JT, generally he'll stand in there and give you some answers. You could just feel it. There was just a vibe right from the beginning that he didn't want to be there, didn't want to do it today, and clearly didn't take a liking to the question about his emotional state and leadership and all those kind of things. So, look, this is a team that needs wins in bunches, and they need them in a hurry here. Back home for 3 in a row, 5 of the next 6. You'd think, hey, that's great, they're at home, but we know that that has not meant anything to this team this year. So just because they're at home doesn't mean that they're going to get victories. Only 7 of them in front of the home fans all season. So this is a big stretch for them, and we'll see if they're up to the challenge. But for coming off a loss like they had the other night in Winnipeg, now they face the best defensive team in the National Hockey League, and you guys were just talking about the Kings and the way they go about their business. They give up next to nothing, which isn't ideal for a Canucks team that is struggling and scraping to find offense right now.
Jeff, Baggedmilk and I were talking about it earlier, but this LA Kings team, they defend so well. Baggedmilk was talking about the 1-0 game against the Oilers. What are you expecting to see tonight?
Oh, the lowest of low event hockey that you can imagine. The Kings' last 4 games, 2-1, 2-1, 2-1, and 1-0. So they got tired of playing 2-1 games and thought, let's dumb it down and just boa constrict the life out of these hockey games. They tried to keep the Oilers at bay. It was McDavid's birthday, and he managed to score the only goal of the hockey game the other night. This is how the Kings play. I mean, they know who they are. They know who they aren't. They're not trying to get into a track meet with you. They want to play low event hockey, and that's what they specialize in. They're the only team in the league that hasn't given up 100 goals yet this year, and we'll see if the Canucks can get to the century mark and then some. Now, the Canucks did beat the Kings back in November, the night we've all talked about the last couple of days where Besser took the cheap shot from Tanner Jeannot. Canucks ended up winning that hockey game, so they have beaten the Los Angeles Kings. We'll see if history can repeat itself here, but I am expecting a pretty low event. I would say take the under on this one tonight.
Baggedmilk, for you. People are talking about Podkolzin. Is there anything, and again, I know we just talked about him, but is there anything that you think, when you watched him as a Canuck, is there anything that you think he's changed other than the fact that they've just stuck with him, even if the offense necessarily hasn't been there?
I think that's probably the biggest change I've noticed. I mean, I didn't get to watch him as much as a Canuck, obviously, as I do every night with the Oilers, but I think that the team has given him more leash. If he makes a mistake, he's not getting stripped off Draisaitl's line. Like if he goes out and has a bad shift or even a bad night, he's still going in that spot the next game. And I think that consistency is probably helping him. I think Chris Knobloch, if I was to guess, probably gave him some messaging of like, if mistakes happen, like they happen, just go keep playing your game, because he works hard every single shift, as I mentioned earlier. But I think he's kind of out of his own head a little bit. He's just out there making plays, and he's out there working hard. And he knows that if a mistake happens, he's not getting pulled out of the lineup. He's not getting shuffled down the depth chart in any way. And I think that probably is giving him some confidence. That would be my biggest guess, is he's playing a free form of hockey right now.
Yep, sounds like what he needed to do in Vancouver. And again, people in the chat are just pointing it out, just didn't really have the opportunity to do that. Okay, I'm going to let you go, Baggedmilk, but I did want to ask you about John Klingberg. We've seen the rumors, the reports, like John Klingberg, obviously it's going to be near league minimum at this point, but John Klingberg to the Oilers, do you like it?
I guess I don't get it. In a way, like, I mean, like, we're not talking about the John Klingberg that was putting up points en masse a handful of years ago, right? Like, he had a pretty significant surgery, and I get why the Oilers would want to bolster their defensive depth with what's essentially a free guy. Like you said, Quads, you're just going to have to sign him for money. The Oilers don't have a whole lot of assets to trade when it comes to the deadline. It's not like they're stocked with picks and prospects that they can move out to kind of improve the lineup down the stretch. They don't really have that. So I think that the approach from Stan Bowman is to try and go find some players that can give you quality minutes as cheaply as possible. We talked about Kapanen picking him up on waivers and turning him into, like, you know, a pretty essential piece of the lineup now on a nightly basis. I think that's probably the hope for John Klingberg, that he could come in and steal Troy Stetcher's job on the third pairing. Whether or not that happens, I don't know, because you look at how his season totals have gone. They've been in decline for 4 straight seasons now. And is age catching up to him? How much is that surgery going to affect him? How much is missing the first half of an NHL season going to affect him? Everybody knows if you miss the first half, it's going to take you a long time just to get up to speed. So I guess I don't get it. I'm confused by it. I understand taking a flyer on a guy who can provide offense from the back end. I understand that. But with the lineup as it's currently constructed, I don't know that he's the best fit for what the Oilers need. If I was to pick a defenseman from Oilers past that I would love to clone and throw into the lineup, it's Jason Smith. I don't know that it's John Klingberg. So I'm confused, but like everybody else, I'm just kind of watching and seeing what happens.
Okay, final thing before Jeff and I get to Family Feud here. Dollars for Dogs. I'm a part of it. Proud Dollars for Dogs
yes, you are.
Sponsor. But walk us through it, because you've only been eating hot dogs for the Costco hot dogs for the past 5 days. I think this is the first Jeff's hearing about it. But Dollars for Dogs, walk us through this.
I'm so stupid. So on my podcast, Better Late Than Never, back in December, I started talking about, like, I wonder how long you could survive on only Costco hot dogs. No other solid foods, just dogs. And it just kind of came as like a dumb podcast bit that was a throwaway. And then it turned into a charity challenge. Like, okay, what if I turn this into a thing where people pledge dollars for dogs, where every hot dog I eat, people will donate money to a local charity. So I workshopped the idea over the course of a month, and now we're doing it. Dollars for Dogs. So starting this past Monday, all I'm eating for solid foods, Jeff, is just hot dogs from Costco. I went and bought the big pack of weenies. I went and bought the big pack of dogs. And I'm just crushing them. And I'm going to go as long as I possibly can before A, I get bored, or B, I get sick. And through 3.5 days, we've already raised about $2,300 for Scars Animal Rescue here in Edmonton. So we're giving some real dollars to a charity that needs it at a time when they don't get a lot of donations after Christmas. So it's interesting what a dumb bit on my show turned into, but yeah, I'm suffering. The old stomach's having a hard time these days, Quads, because eating nothing but hot dogs, that'll turn it over once or twice.
So you have to prepare them yourself, like you're not lining up and buying the $1.50 hot dog. I thought that was all part of this, but you're actually like, you have to make your own hot dogs.
That was the original plan, was that I was going to have to go to Costco like every other day and stock up on dogs from the concession. But then somebody sends me a message. They go, "No, you idiot. They just sell those in the freezer section. Just go buy them." So that's what I did. So I'm working on, I've got 10 dogs down at $150 per hot dog. So that's $1,500 plus some additional donations that were made, just a straight donation. So we're at about $2,300. Quads, I think I can carry this through the weekend, but we'll see how the stomach handles it. Ultimately, we're raising some money for a great cause. We're having some conversations about donating to charity here in Edmonton, and we're having some fun with a really silly bit that started out as a throwaway comment.
Hey, I'm rooting for you. I'm rooting for you. Even if each dog you eat takes something out of my bank account, I'm happy to donate. And if you want to donate, folks, we have a link in the description on YouTube, and we'll have it in the podcast as well. Baggedmilk, thanks so much for doing this. Jeff and I have to go play Family Feud, so thanks for filling in today.
Stay strong.
Appreciate it. Yeah, stay strong
through the weekend.
Yeah, keep it up.
Thanks, fellas. I will be crushing dogs. Follow me on socials. You can keep up with the journey.
There you go. GSBM Baggedmilk on Twitter. And he also has Instagram as well. I think if you just search bagged milk, like not even the full handle, I don't think there's many bagged milks out there. The one and only bagged milk takes his time out of his day to join us, and we appreciate it. Jeff, quickly, I wanted to get to this comment from Brian Choi before we officially close out anyone else and get to Family Feud. This comment from Brian Choi. Canucks have lost 10 of their last 13. On a more serious note, I think tonight could get very ugly if the Canucks don't show up. Jersey on the ice, ugly. I have to agree. Tickets are expensive. People are paying a lot of money to come watch this team. The sun's shining today, so that makes maybe people be in better moods, but like, yeah, you have to show up. And that's the thing. Is like, if you lose, okay, it's one thing, but how did you lose? Like, did you show up? I think that's the thing. If you don't show up, if you turn in a piss poor effort, then I think, yeah, you are looking at that level of Jersey on panic from the fan base.
First game back after a road trip. We've seen that go sideways for the Canucks an awful lot. The Kings have been here since Tuesday. Had a team fishing derby with the, of all the times for the Kings to be out on a road trip with all that's going on in Southern California right now, I'm sure their hearts are there, but probably a good thing for them just to be away as a group, spending some time bonding. Apparently, yeah, they took advantage of, I don't know if it was the Fraser River, wherever, but they had some sort of team fishing expedition on Wednesday. They were loose this morning, hooting and hollering down around Rogers Arena. There were actually smiles and laughter, things that I haven't seen from a hockey team in a while at the Rog. But I will say this, the way that they play, not conducive to running the Canucks out of the rink, more likely just to suck the life out of the Canucks and the building. I would suggest that Saturday against the Oilers has the potential, and it did the last time on November the 9th when they chased Kevin Lankinen. That one could get ugly unless the Canucks can sort some things out. I don't have a huge fear of this game getting away from the Vancouver Canucks, but I watched them in Winnipeg the other night, and I know it's possible, and so I got to be careful what I say here, because the minute I think, oh no, this is just going to be a 2-1 game, I just don't know who's going to win it, watch this be the night that the Kings explode for 7 goals.
Yeah, we'll see. Okay, let's get to Family Feud. Thank you to everybody who contributed to anyone else today. Let's get to Family Feud. Now, we have to explain this. Jeff, you've watched the segment before, so you understand the premise, and obviously you've seen Family Feud before, so you understand the premise. But I will leave it up to you. Do you want to go first? Do you want to go second? Do you want to ask Jacob what he thinks is best based on the survey results? What do you want to do?
I want to go first.
Okay.
I want to go first so that you can bail me out, because I have watched many of the segments with you and Harm, and it seems super easy on this side when you're just a spectator. And, oh, yeah, no problem. Now it's for real, and I'm freaking out, and I'm totally worried about choking here. So
Don't worry.
Figure way more pressure if you go second, and you have to be the guy to drag it across the finish line. So I'm putting that on you, Quads. You're the veteran when it comes to all this. I'm just the fill-in guy. You made a phone call. I don't know how many people you had to go through before you found somebody that was willing to agree to step in here for Harm. But here I am. I'm ready for my moment. We had talked about a rink-wide Canucks Convo crossover Family Feud. That may still happen at some point, or it may go completely out the window after I embarrass myself with this one today. But I'm up to the challenge, I think. But yeah, I want to be first.
Okay, let's do it. Take it away. There he is.
I'm your man, Jacob Lazar, and Jeff, I don't think you have too much to be worried about. This is a pretty easy survey this week.
Good. Okay.
The data, especially for going first, I think you're going to do just fine. I see Quads is muted. I would assume he's muted us as well. He's on his phone, so I think we're ready to go. All right, Jeff, I'll go through the rules again. First time playing, but obviously, as you mentioned, you've watched us do this multiple times. You're going to have 25 seconds on the clock. Your timer will begin when I finish reading the first question. If you can't think of a response, say pass, and I'll get back to it at the end. Jeff Patterson, are you ready?
I don't know, but it's go time regardless, so let's get her going.
All right. Assuming Filip Hronek plays with Quinn Hughes and Tyler Myers plays on the third pair, who will be the Canucks' second pair right defenseman at the end of the regular season?
Oh, man. Vinny Desharnais.
How many Canadian teams will make the playoffs?
5.
Besides Quinn Hughes, name a Canuck past or present who's won an individual award.
Pavel Bure.
Name a past or present Canuck whose last name starts with the letter L.
Linden.
What division will the Cup winner come from this year?
The Pacific.
There you go. I'll give you the Pacific. I was reading the question. We can get Quad's attention, and I'll tally up your score.
All right. Don't know that I like
Just
the
give
first
Quads
answer.
give Quads a wave there, Jeff, and then he'll yeah.
I think we've got him back now.
How'd it go?
Good. I left you wide open on the first one, but other than that, I think there's enough of a foundation in place here, I think, for you to get the necessary points to win this week.
All right, I love it. Jacob, you tell us how we're looking.
I'm just tallying it up now.
I got to tell you, Jeff, people, and by people I mean Conversation, was not confident today because typically Harmon gets more points than I do.
Right.
I think that's because I usually go second. Since I've started going first, which was a change we've made, it started to be a little better. We're on a bit of a winning streak right now. So Conversation doesn't think we're crossing 172. So we're gonna prove him wrong. He's taking the under on 172. Come on now. Okay,
All
Jacob,
right.
how are we looking?
Jeff got 106, although I'm pretty sure I know what you said on the last one. But yes, no, okay. I just checked it back. We're good. So yes, you got 106 there, Jeff. So
All right.
a good showing.
Okay,
106 is great.
Yeah, and I think I left enough on the table here.
Yep, there's still some big answers out there. All right. David Quadrelli, are you ready?
Yes.
Assuming Philip Hronek plays with Quinn Hughes and Tyler Myers plays on the third pair, who will be the Canucks' second pair right defenseman at the end of the regular season?
Noah Juleson.
How many Canadian teams will make the playoffs?
6.
Besides Quinn Hughes, name a Canuck past or present who's won an individual award.
Elias Patterson.
Name a past or present Canuck whose last name starts with the letter L.
Luongo.
Which division will the Stanley Cup winner come from this year?
Pacific.
Try again.
Atlantic.
All right. Good work. I'm going to go through your score here, and we'll find out if you guys came out on top.
I think that was good. I'm happy with my answers.
No, I like your Luongo didn't even cross my mind. So, but I'm sure he'll garner significant votes. I would think.
Who did you say? I can't even think of another.
Linden.
Oh, Linden. Okay.
So that one's going to be fun when we get to it because there's a ton of guys. All right. So the first question: who will be on the Canucks' second pair? Jeff, you said Vinny Desharnais. That got you 4 points. So he was tied for the number 4 answer. Quads, Noah Juleson.
Spread.
Noah Juleson was the number 2 answer with 14 points. The number 1 answer was Tom Wielander.
Oh, I like that. That means people have been listening to Canucks Convo. I like that. That slipped my mind. That's good. I like that.
That was the number 1 answer by quite a lot. 30 points for Wielander.
Nice.
I'm very proud of the Canucks Convo listeners there. I think that's a good pull.
Yeah.
How many Canadian teams will make the playoffs? Jeff, you said 5. Quads, you said 6. Those were the number 2 and 4 answers. The number 1 answer was 4. So this one, again, pretty varied between 3 and 6. And really, I could see any of those actually happening at this point. Sorry, just forgot to add up some of the scores here. So that brings you guys up to 130 points here with 3 questions to go. Besides Quinn Hughes, name a Canuck past or present who's won an individual award. Jeff, you said Pavel Bure. Only 10 points there.
Oh.
I feel like a lot of people forgot. I mean, he won a couple of Rocket Richards and a Calder. Like, should have been one of the top answers.
Young demographic on Canucks Convo.
Young demo. Quad, sorry, your answer was...
Elias Pettersson.
Elias Pettersson. Number 2 answer for Pettersson, 15 points.
Was Hank number 1?
Hank with 39 points.
Damn it.
The runaway number 1 answer. Funny enough, Tyler Myers got 4 points as well for his Calder back in Buffalo. All right, this was my favorite one. The Canuck past or present whose last name starts with the letter L. You guys got the number 1 and 2 answers.
Nice.
Luongo was number 1 with 24. Linden was number 2 with 22. But some really good names in there. Obviously, current Canucks, Lekromaki, Lankinen, Jyrki Lumi, Igor Larionov got some votes. Brad Lukowicz. Yuho, Lamico.
I'm quickly doing the
great
math in my
polls.
head. Did we come up just short?
Oh, you still have one question to go.
Oh, good.
And you guys are at 169 points.
Okay, let's do it.
So you need. I'll tell you this.
Oh no, 31. Okay, yeah, continue.
Sorry, Quads. What was your response to this one again?
I said
you said Pacific.
I said
we buzzed
Atlantic, and then Jeff said Pacific.
So if you get the number 2 answer here, Quads, you will get 200 points on the nose. The number 2 answer was worth 31 points.
Okay.
Jeff got Pacific, number 1,
Yep.
42
Central.
points. The Central Division was the number 2. You guys fall just short. The Atlantic had 19 points. You finished with 188.
You know what, Jeff? For your first time, like you did absolutely fine. It was me that lost that, and Jacob's got the new graphic with your
at that,
face on
yeah.
it. You did, yeah. You know what? That was good. That was a good game. We missed an answer on Wiehlander that would have helped. I should have got that. And yeah, the division.
Should
it's
you have got
interesting.
that? Like my head was going trade, like the trade route. I was trying to think.
I almost said
your boy
Rasmus
in Calgary.
Anderson.
No,
Rasmus
I know.
Anderson picked up a few. Marcus Patterson picked up a few there as well. And a couple votes for Noah Dobson as well after our foray into NHL 25 a couple weeks ago on the show.
Love it. Okay.
I think the big miss there was Henrik Sedin for the individual award.
Yes.
Fair enough.
That would have done it. And then, obviously Wiehlander would have been a good pick.
That's okay. That's a fine week of Family Feud. That's the thing, is that was a good survey. The listeners did their job, and we came
I was
up
going to
just
say
short.
Rick Tocchet. Did he get any?
Rick Tocchet only got 2 votes, surprisingly.
Okay, good. Then I'm glad I didn't say that. But,
Yeah. That was a very interesting spread. Obviously, Kessler was in there as well. Sure. I voted Marcus Naslund in that, and looking through the responses, I see one other Marcus Naslund vote. People forgetting really how good Naslund was for that 3-year stretch, and he picked up some hardware. I forget what year it was that he won the Lindsay, but at the time it was the
03,
Clancy. Yeah, it was.
Don't ask me. I was like 4 years old. Okay. Okay. Good Family Feud debut, Jeff. And yes, I think we will do, because now we have a big spread of questions, and Jacob's got a lot of data. So I think we could do like you and Irf versus Harmon and I in the studio during that 4 Nations break. It's coming up sooner than you think. So maybe we'll be able to do something like that. I think that'll be a lot of fun. Maybe we'll do some more Family Feud. What do you think of your first time on Family Feud? Did you enjoy it?
Well, we didn't win, so you can't be thrilled about it. But no, it's good fun. It's turned out to be a pretty good segment, and you've stuck with it. When you floated it, I remember late in the off season, and you were like, "I'm going to do this. I got this." And I thought, okay, well, give it a run and see. But you've stuck with it, and here you are, more than halfway through the season, and still going strong. So yeah, no, it was all right. And
Yeah.
I don't think I choked necessarily, but we didn't win, so I'm a little angered at that.
Do we have a new survey yet, Jacob?
No, not yet, but it
Okay.
will be ready tomorrow. Although I know Quads, you're not going to be on the show tomorrow. We'll figure it out. I'll let the listeners know when the survey's available.
Yeah, so to get even with Harmon, he took 2 days off this week. I've decided to take tomorrow off. No, I'm joking. I have to go to a funeral. It's nothing crazy, but yeah, I have to. I'm not going to be around tomorrow, so it's going to be Irfan Gafar filling in for me with Harmon Dial. So that's why we got Family Feud done today, and yeah, it'll be good. Irf and Harmon will have you covered tomorrow. Also want to give a quick shout out to the Down to Earth podcast. Earth did an interview with Mike Gillis and Spencer Gillis. Really good listening. Down to listen. It's on the Canucks Army YouTube channel. It is available wherever you get your podcasts. You just search Down to Earth, IRF. A really good listen. Mike Gillis, Spencer Gillis. Good listen. So go check it out. Go check it out. Is he on Rinkwide with you tonight, Jeff?
Irf is, yes, not
Beautiful.
Mike Gillis. Yes,
Not Mike Gillis.
Irf will be there as usual. And yeah, I mean, we talked about the stakes here for the Canucks. They can't afford to flush many more, particularly at home. And so a chance to set the tone, I think, for the homestand. I know we had the article at Canucks Army about Tanner Jeannot, and that's definitely a subplot in all of this. And like you look at the makeup of the Canucks lineup, like who are your candidates? I guess Vinny Desharnais is likely to draw in. Does it fall on him? I remember I asked him after when they came off that road trip in California and asked him a little bit about no response, and he said, "Hey, we play them again," and just kind of left it at that. So we'll see where his memory is. But there is a part of me, and I don't want to go all old school here, but if there isn't any sort of response from the Vancouver Canucks, what kind of message does that send, not just to the Kings, but to the rest of the National Hockey League? We saw a little bit of a response when your boy in Washington took a run at Quinn Hughes and Tom Wilson. The Canucks aren't built that way. They don't have those types of players, but you can't let teams walk all over you either. And they do see the Kings again later this season, so there's still another chapter in this matchup. But also, I just think in terms of, they're looking for some sort of galvanizing moment here and something to rally around. Like, could that be it? Ultimately, they got to win hockey games. Whether they fight or win fights, that's sort of secondary. But I am curious to see, Brock Besser has been a long-serving, popular, productive member of the Vancouver Canucks, and Jeannot got thrown out immediately, right? There really wasn't an opportunity. Didn't come back in that game. But I sort of feel like those guys owe it to a teammate. If you're going to be a team and talk about sticking together, will somebody step up and defend the honor of Brock Besser? We'll find out tonight, I suppose.
Yeah, and Baggedmilk and I were talking about this, and we both kind of agreed with exactly what you just said. And the other thing I think about is it's Baggedmilk was talking about it as an Oilers fan, how important it is. I'm of the opinion that it's okay, you either do that or you go beat the crap out of the team in terms of you're physical and you just dominate them on the scoreboard. Don't think the Canucks are going to do that tonight necessarily. So yeah, you've got to you have to even the score a little bit. And that's the other thing I pointed out when I was talking with Baggedmilk about it as well, was just that if you don't do that, oftentimes you start to see some guys get stupid throughout the game on both sides, right? Taking stupid runs at players that you don't want to see in the game. Let a willing combatant in Vinny Desharnais go with another willing combatant in Tanner Jeannot, and then it's settled. It's over. Leave it at that. That's my take on it. Anyways. Okay.
Well, and I also think, look, if you get him off the ice for 5 minutes, that 5 minutes that he can't be running around. And it's not just Brock Besser. We're starting to see teams seemingly get more body on Quinn Hughes than at any point this season. And it wasn't just Dubois. Jordan Martinook got a pretty good piece of him in the Carolina game. Even on the fourth goal in Winnipeg the other night, Quinn looked like he was in the direct line of fire and kind of pulled up, and you can understand to some degree why, and that's not a play that he generally makes, but teams recognize if you can get the body on Quinn Hughes, wear him down, wear him out, send some sort of message. And so I do think at some point there has to be a little bit of pushback from Quinn Hughes and his teammates.
Agreed. All right, let's get to our Bet365 Bet of the Day, brought to you by, you guessed it, Bet365. Tonight, the Oilers take on the Avalanche, and they are the underdogs. We got to go with an underdog. Last night, our heavy favorite, the Carolina Hurricanes, lost to the Buffalo Sabres somehow. The penalty shot that was immediately turned into a goal. I've never seen anything like that, which I know is something a lot of people hadn't seen either. Go watch it if you haven't seen it. Just Sabres, Hurricanes, penalty shot that was immediately a goal when Brent Burns came down and turned into Paul Bunyan on the breakaway there. It was an immediate goal despite them not having a shot in the third period, them being the Sabres. Of course, Sabres go on to win that game against Carolina Hurricanes. So we get a loss last night, but we're looking to bounce back. So we're taking Oilers minus 105. They are the underdog in Colorado tonight, minus 105 on the money line. That is our Bet365 Bet of the Day, brought to you by Bet365, a proud partner of Canucks Conversation. Open an account with Bet365 today and bet on a huge range of markets. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Be sure to use code NATION when you sign up for an account. Must be 19 plus to play. If you choose to play, please play responsibly. All right, Jeff, thanks so much for taking the time with me today. Appreciate it. And we got this Greta video. Jacob put this together. Jacob, just go ahead, hit this. Let's see. What are we looking at here? Wow, that was really cool. Okay, so that was a highlight reel of our first watch party of the year. I'm sorry, a couple things. Me just botching the football game. The last time I played it, I was not finding that rhythm at all. And then did I see Harmon signing a hat for someone?
He wasn't signing it. He was just giving them. It was one of the giveaways.
There was a long line to get Harm's autograph that night. Come on, who are we kidding? There was a shot there early. It was dark, but it was you and Harm at the microphone. But there was no shot of you and Harm at the basketball. And you guys talk that up all the time, and you've thrown down and certainly tried to pump yourself up with the hoop shoot there. But and I saw it in my own eyes, but we didn't have it in the video. The other thing, did you see it throughout? But at the end, happy Canuck fans. Like, you know how many, like, those people have lived 8 lives since that video was shot on October 19th. They shut out Philadelphia that night. Times were good. The vibe was strong. I may have to just watch that a few times to remind myself what happy Canuck fans look like, because obviously wins have been in short supply. But I do hope people will join us. It was a good time then, and it's a game against Edmonton. It's in Edmonton, so the rivalry teams are playing here on Saturday, so we'll see if that sets the stage. But yeah, come on down. Like,
it was fun.
If you're looking for a place to watch a Canuck game, sort of get out of your comfort zone and out of the norm, come down to Greta. Be part of the Canucks Army watch party on the 23rd.
And it was so fun. We saw regular listeners in that sizzle reel as well. We saw Commander Vander there. We saw Travis Wall, who got a tour of the studio as well. He got to watch us. Actually, he was my apprentice for a day. When I was installing the shelf, he was helping me a little bit, which we quickly turned that studio tour into unpaid labor to help Quads. But he did a great job, and he was a great guy to hang out with. So shout out to the regular listeners of the show. We hope to see you at the event January 23rd. Get your tickets at nationgear.ca. Okay, we will wrap it up there. Canucks, Kings tonight. Irf and Harm will be back to break it all down tomorrow. But for now, signing off for my co-host, Baggedmilk and Jeff Patterson. My name is Dave Gugelli. Thanks so much for this episode of Canucks Conversation. Canucks Conversation is live Monday through Friday, every weekday at 2 p.m. over on the Canucks Army YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, and interact in the YouTube live chat every day with us, folks.